Okay, let's bring in our lovely presenters today. So Candice and Richard, please join me.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, how are we
Oh, hello.
doing? It's lovely to have you back because you both have been on this series before. So it is lovely to have you back. Candice joining us from St. John's. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me again.
Having you again. We love it. We love seeing all your lovely pictures and wonderful things, naturey things to do. And welcoming back Richard to the series as well. Richard, hello, good morning. How are you?
Glad to be back, and our season is well underway. And today we have a little bit of overcast, but we've had an incredible summer here, unprecedented weather in Atlantic Canada. So it's been perfect for all of our um, guests coming, and they've had a great time.
We've been hosting lots of Brits, Richard.
Absolutely, and with our new direct flights back this year from both Halifax and from St. John's. I guess I should say I'm located in Nova Scotia with Candice over in St. John's, Newfoundland, and perfect gateways for all of my programming.
Yes, perfect. So today we have two updates. Those of you who've been before know how it works. We've got about 12 or 13 minutes each. So Candice is going first. We will temporarily say goodbye to Richard. We'll see you in a bit, Richard. Please do keep any comments, any chat, any questions coming. We will do some live Q&A at the end, and we do love to hear from you. But for now, welcome back to the Candice Specialist Program Series. Our first update today is with Candice from Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. Joining us from St. John's, Candice, welcome back to the series. I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks so much, Charlie. And again, thank you everyone for joining me today. I'm Candice Walsh with Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. Like Richard said, we're having an incredible summer. I've been making the most of it, as most Newfoundlanders and Labradorians do. We sometimes have a harsh winter. We had a lot of snow this year, so been out enjoying every minute of it. So I thought today I would talk about some of the top experiences that you can have while you're here, make the most of your time, and fall in love with the place as much as I do. Just a really quick geographical recap if you're kind of new to the province. We're the easternmost province in Canada. We're huge. We're more than 3 times the amount of the other Atlantic Canada provinces. So New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia. Newfoundland is the island part. Labrador is connected to Quebec. And we have a population of just 500,000 people. So it's quite a large, open kind of landscape. You have a lot of room to move around. We're the newest province in Canada, so we're only 75 years into Canadian Confederation. So we've really retained our unique charm and cultural quirks. And we're so close to the UK now. We're just 5.5 hours direct flight from London Gatwick with WestJet to St. John's. I actually flew it on Sunday, so probably some of you on the call might have actually met me this past week while I was in the UK. So hi again. But I took the flight from Gatwick to St. John's on Sunday. It was incredible just to hop on a direct route. 5 hours later, I watched a movie, had a really nice meal, and woke up, had a little nap, and woke up in St. John's. So it's really easy flying, and I'm thrilled that we have that access again. So just to get right into it, first up, of course, cannot talk about experiences without celebrating summer with the humpback whales. So even ask their boat tour guides. It doesn't matter how often they see these beautiful creatures. It never ever gets old. So we get up to 10,000 migrating humpback whales every summer. They come up to feed from the Caribbean, and it's a lot of mamas and their babies. They're very happy, they're joyous. They jump, they breach, they flap their fins and their tails. And they chase the capelin. So the capelin are small, smelt-like fish. In early July, they roll up in the tens of thousands onto our beaches, and it's a huge spectacle. So all the locals come out with their nets and their buckets, and they'll scoop the fish out of the water. There's whales in the background. It's a big to-do. If you're lucky enough to be here during the capelin roll and the beginning of the whale watching season, it's really a wonderful spectacle to see. And that's not to neglect our other whale species. We have over 22 other species of large marine life, such as minke whales, sperm whales, pilot heads, dolphins, you name it. Next, we have seeing and tasting icebergs. I'll talk about that a little bit more soon. So like whales, you'll never get tired of seeing icebergs. These 10,000-year-old chunks of ancient glacial ice float down from Greenland and the Canadian Arctic, so they break off of the glaciers. It takes them 2 years to arrive. They start showing up on our shores around May or the end of April. We actually have one right now that just showed up on the Great Northern Peninsula. So sometimes the further north you go, obviously it's a bit colder. This has, sometimes the icebergs stick around a little bit longer. So you can see them on boat tours, hiking trails, from a kayak, that sort of thing. And sometimes you'll get incredible views like this even from land. So this is Twillingate. It's considered the iceberg capital of the world. We're really lucky that we have so many shallow bays and inlets and kind of a craggy coastline where the icebergs become grounded. Sometimes they stay there for weeks. I saw a familiar scene like this last year. It was absolutely incredible. Everyone kind of was sitting out on their camp chairs, admiring the view. And if you're lucky enough to see an iceberg calve, so a piece of the berg will fall off, it sounds like a gunshot or an explosion because the ice is so compressed and it kind of pops. And then the iceberg will actually flip. And once it's flipped, it's a whole different shape because, as you probably know, an iceberg is 90% underwater. So when it rolls, it's a whole different experience. I never get tired of seeing it. It's really incredible. And the icebergs are usually in the area from May to the end of June or early July. Last year, they were around until end of July. So it really depends on what kind of season we're having. And this is what I mean by tasting the iceberg. So we actually have iceberg harvesters in the province who will go around collecting chunks of ice, purifying it, melting it down, and then it's sold to people like Kitty Vitty Brewery, which creates this lovely iceberg beer. It's really famous. There's also rum, vodka, water, you name it. Apparently we like our alcoholic beverages. These iceberg bottles, the owners always have to beg the public to return them because they're so beautiful that people will take them home as souvenirs, as you would, because they are gorgeous. Next, getting up close to puffins. We have 35 million seabirds that come to our shores every year, including the puffin, which is our provincial bird. At the Witless Bay Ecological Reserve, it's only about 20 to 30 minutes outside of St. John's. You can see over 500,000 puffins. So it's the largest puffin colony in North America. So imagine being on a boat headed out to the bird islands. All of a sudden the sky is just kind of darkened with a mass of birds. It's not an Alfred Hitchcock situation. It's just all these birds are out feeding. The noise, the chaos, the clamor, it's really something to witness for yourself. It's hard to describe. The puffins are hilarious because they mostly skim the top of the water. They get so full of fish that they can't fly properly. So they're cute, but not all that bright. This is the Cape St. Mary's Ecological Reserve. It's the most accessible northern gannet colony in North America. So a quick walk will take you out to a magnificent sea stack that overlooks the colony. And there are over 30,000 gannets here. So watching them dive bomb into the water is another really worthwhile spectacle to see. Hiking the East Coast Trail. So hiking is huge here, especially for locals. We love hitting the trails every year, every summer. So they're really beautifully maintained, makes for some lovely coastal hiking. Everyone uses them. So the East Coast Trail in particular is a favorite. It's on the Avalon Peninsula, so easily reached from St. John's. There's over 336 kilometers of hiking trails here. You can do them in sections depending on what you're feeling for that day or your skill level, or you can through hike it as well. It's really magnificent. Sea arches, sea stacks, whale watching, vivid blue waters, fresh air, that salty, briny Atlantic Ocean air, nothing beats it. The West Coast has more mountainous landscapes. So whether it's hiking in the Humber Valley at the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, exploring the beautiful long range mountains, or hiking any of the trails in Grossmore National Park, which is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site for its beautiful geology, which Richard will kind of talk about a little bit later. You're truly one with nature here, and sometimes a moose or two as well. So get your sea legs. There's a good chance if you're visiting Newfoundland Labrador, if you're not prone to seasickness, that you're going to end up on a boat tour. We have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to boat tours in this province. So whether you're whale watching on a larger schooner with 50 other people, or maybe you're zipped up in a dry suit, zipping around the coast on a Zodiac, and the captain will show you all of his favorite little locales. Canada has really strict whale watching rules about getting too close to the whales for their safety. But often if the captain cuts his boat, cuts the motor, the whales will come closer to have a look. They want to look at you, you look at them. It's a perfect experience. So in Newfoundland and Labrador, cod is king. In recent years, we've really witnessed an explosion of food culture here. We've always been known for our wild game and our seafood and delicious traditional meals. But in the past decade or so, we've kind of garnered a new reputation as a culinary destination with some world-renowned chefs. But when it comes to seafood, cod is still king. You'll find it on every single menu. We'll dust it out. But it is the backbone of our history. It's why we're here. And you don't have to go far to find it. So, you know, we have fish and chips, cod cheeks, cod tongues. Yes, I'm serious. We have cod tongues, cod au gratin, and it's delicious whether it's served on a fancy plate or in a brown paper bag from a fish truck. So definitely try that while you're here. Having a boil up is also a culinary experience, but it's so special it deserves its own slide. So sometimes it's referred to as a mug up or a cook up, means cooking a meal over an open fire in the woods, especially on a beach. You know, there are several tour guides around the province that do this. When I used to do this with my father, it would be, you know, toasting a slice of bread over the fire and buttering it. But now if you sign up with a tour, you can get a full gourmet type kind of meal with a lobster boil up, wild game, special desserts made with local berries. It's a really big production. So there's something about a meal outside that just is so much better. Sitting around a crackling fire, smelling that smoke, watching the sunset over the ocean. It's one of a kind. Music is huge in Newfoundland and Labrador. Everyone here seems to be musically inclined except for me. I cannot carry a tune. Don't ask me to sing. Any night in downtown St. John's, there's music flowing in and out of the bars. So it all sounds very Irish, but it's more like an Irish Newfoundland kind of experience. We have our own ballads. A lot of it's based on the Atlantic Ocean, what the sea gives and takes away. But it's one of my favorite things about living here because every night of the week there's really, really high-end music playing somewhere. But one of our biggest events is the George Street Festival. So every year at the end of July for a whole week, we have this music festival that takes place on George Street, which is a pedestrian-only zone that's purely bars and restaurants and pubs, which is a really cool atmosphere, especially on the weekends, but any night of the week, again. As you can see, everyone comes out to enjoy it. It's very local. It's a lot of fun. The bands take the stage every night. It's one of the summer's highlights for sure. And a quick pivot from the chaos of downtown to enjoying peace and quiet. So we are known for wide open spaces and these beautiful historical fishing communities all around the coastline. Everyone in this province really enjoys this kind of experience. So for example, I grew up in a town of 1,200 people, very small, but everyone still had two cabins, one that they would go to in the winter, in the summer, to get away from it all. So it's quite easy to experience this. This, for example, is Trinity. It is on the Bonavista Peninsula. Places like Trinity have managed to keep the historical, authentic, traditional feel for hundreds of years. So I picked Trinity as an example because it's so beautiful. It's one of my favorite places, but really we have communities like this all around the coast, whether it's Twillingate, Fogo Island, St. Anthony, everywhere in between. It's all a matter of finding this, exploring and seeing what's out there. But if you can imagine waking up here in a small, quiet community, the mist is lifting off the ocean. You can hear the foghound sounding from the Cape. It's one of my favorite experiences for sure. And last but definitely not least, Newfoundland is home to 3 distinct Indigenous groups, the Inuit, the Innu, and the Mi'kmaq. Around here, Indigenous influence can be seen throughout the province in so many ways, whether it's hunting, fishing, trapping, foraging. All of these skills still support the livelihoods and lifestyles of our Indigenous people today. And a lot of those skills have also been transferred to the rest of the province, whether it's, you know, having a favorite blueberry pudding recipe or a jar of favored partridge berry jam that's come from one of these cultures. When you participate in an Indigenous owned tour, you get to meet some real characters like Darren Park here. He's with Four Season Tours. He'll take you on his boat, cod fishing, and then he'll bring you back to his cabin on shore and have a boil up with you on his beach. So it could be mussels and scallops, and it's just a really, you really get a sense of his passion and his dedication to the landscape. It's very special to hear how in tune he is with his own environment. And that's 10. I could honestly pick 100, but that's the top 10. Next time we'll do the next 20 maybe. But thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. I would sit in for the 100. That's for sure.
That might be an hour-long webinar.
Would be a little bit longer than 12 minutes, but it would be amazing though, because like I said, it's so beautiful and amazing experiences, all that amazing nature. Do love it. Thank you.